I want to give a special shout out to all my patrons, my Bibliosprand, Bibliohowlers, and Bibliomancers. Thank you so much for supporting my hobby and passion even more. It means so much to me. Hi everyone, Patek here. So today's video will be SFF Spotlight episode 14. So some of you have mentioned in my previous SFF Spotlight video that pretty much all of you prefer me doing this kind of video once per week. And I know that this is not once per week, but I'm going to try my best to actually fit to the schedule of actually doing this one per week. I usually release one SFF Spotlight video once every 2 weeks, and I know that this hasn't been 2 weeks, but even though it hasn't been 2 weeks yet since I released my last SFF Spotlight video, but still in today's video, I already have 25 topics to talk about. So yeah, I think because of that, I think it is better for me to do this SFF Spotlight video now instead of waiting until 2 weeks have passed. As always, for those of you who are new here, SFF Spotlight is a series of videos where I talk about new book news, new cover reveals, and new special editions being announced in the adult science fiction and fantasy market within a certain set of time. So yeah, let's get started immediately, and the first topic is that George R. R. Martin recently talked again about his involvement in Elden Ring video game, and I really love watching that interview. Elden Ring is one of my favorite games of all time, and ever since I finished Elden Ring this year, I've been in a very bad gaming hangover because it was just too good. I still haven't finished playing Last of Us 2, even though I think I've started playing Last of Us 2 at the beginning of this year, and yeah, I still haven't finished it because my mind is still in Elden Ring. But soon God of War Ragnarok will come out, and I think my gaming hangover is about to come to an end. And also, George R. R. Martin just talked about his progress with the Winds of Winter. So George R. R. Martin mentioned that he is about 75% done with the Winds of Winter. And that is a good thing. Progress is progress, even if it's super slow. At least in my opinion, anyway. But you know, I think this is still just the first draft, correct me if I'm wrong. So there is still the editing stage after he's 100% done with the first draft of the Winds of Winter. So even though this news is relatively good, do not expect the Winds of Winter to come out anytime soon. I think in my prediction, I don't know, my prediction is always wrong when it comes to the Winds of Winter or the Doors of Stone or maybe the Throne of Amber Lane, the Bermuda Triangle of Epic Fantasy. But I think in my prediction, the Winds of Winter will not come out until we're near, or maybe until we're at the end of the House of the Dragons TV show adaptation. If somehow George R. R. Martin actually finished and satisfied with the Winds of Winter and it actually come out sooner than that, then I will be super satisfied, and I know many fans of the series will be as well. And the next big news is related to TV show adaptation again, and this is about Henry Cavill leaving the Witcher TV show adaptation starting from season 4. So season 3 will be the last time we see Henry Cavill playing as Geralt of Rivia. And yeah, he will be replaced with Liam Hemsworth. I think many of you, if you're a Witcher fan, if you're an adult fantasy fan, I think many of you know about this news already, and I am certainly not a fan of this news. I mean, Henry Cavill being replaced is a weird choice already, okay? It's a weird decision, and I know there are rumors circulating that this is probably because Henry Cavill is trying to stick to the books and the game as much as possible, but the TV show doesn't want to do that. And maybe this is true because Henry Cavill has voiced this opinion so many times now. He has spoken multiple times that he wants his Geralt and the story in The Witcher to stay as close as possible to the books and the game. So it is entirely possible that this is indeed the reason why Henry Cavill will leave the Witcher TV show adaptation. He will be replaced by Liam Hemsworth, and I think that is an odd choice. I would probably be happier if he was actually replaced with Mads Mikkelsen. I think Mads Mikkelsen would really play an awesome Geralt of Rivia. But you know what, maybe there will be more news on this one. But right now, let's just say that I, along with many other fans, are not happy. The next news is still related to the Witcher universe, but this time it's for the video game. So CD Projekt Red just announced that they will do a remake of the first Witcher video game, and I think this is a fantastic choice, especially because CD Projekt Red has mentioned they will use Unreal Engine 5 for this, and the first Witcher, it is incredibly outdated. The graphic, everything about it is so outdated. I mean, The Witcher, the video game, doesn't reach its phenomenal and its widespread fame and praises until they reach Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. And that's also where I started to become a fan of the Witcher franchise. But I am pretty excited about this remake, and I hope after all the fiasco with Cyberpunk 2077, I'm truly hoping that Witcher 1 Remake will be an awesome game, just like Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. And the next spotlight goes to Nicholas Eames. And no, this is not related to the third book in the banned series, Outlaw Empire. This is not related to that. I'm still waiting for that book, by the way. But Nicholas Eames recently announced that he is writing a one-shot of Barbaric. I think this is a graphic novel, and I haven't read this graphic novel yet, but any project by Nicholas Eames is something that I am eagerly anticipating for. So I hope that this one will be awesome. And now let's move on to the topic of special editions. And in this SFF Spotlight video, in today's episode of SFF Spotlight, I will be talking about 8 special editions. I know there are a lot, and 4 of them are related to Kickstarter projects. The other 4 are not. So I guess I will start by talking about the Kickstarter projects first. And of course, the first one that I will be talking about is the Sword of Kaigen project by ML Wang and also Wraithmarked. So if you follow me on Twitter, last week I had the chance and privilege to actually reveal the full dust jacket and also the naked hardcover design for the Sword of Kaigen limited edition. And I think they look absolutely stunning. So the Kickstarter for the limited edition of the Sword of Kaigen by ML Wang is now live for 3 weeks. The price of the hardcover will be $60 and it was fully funded in 5 minutes. Yes, the project has been fully funded within the first 5 minutes, and it actually 10 times exceeded the stretch goal in 2 hours. When I'm recording this video, the project has reached 66,000 in pledge, and I'm pretty sure it will be much more by the time I'm posting this video. I'm not even publishing this book, and I'm so happy with this. ML Wang and this masterpiece deserves every success it gets. I read the Sword of Kaigen from all the way back when it hasn't even been officially published yet, in the first week of January 2019, and I never stopped shouting about how much I love this book since then. So remember, you have 3 weeks before the Kickstarter ends. The limited edition features new cover art and new end paper art by Felix Ortiz. I've talked about this already. Signed foil bookmarks by Felix Ortiz as well. Signed art prints by Vinch, which is unfortunately sold out already. New interior design by Sean King. And another end paper art consisting of a newly illustrated map of Duna by Charis Luke. I have talked about the Sword of Kaigen limited edition Kickstarter project on my channel multiple times now, and I will leave the link to the details to the Kickstarter page in the description down below. Make sure to check it out. This is my favorite self-published fantasy book of all time. And then the next Kickstarter project that launched yesterday is Soul by Jacqui Davis and also K. Grierson. I have showcased this book on my channel plenty of times now, and many of you have mentioned that it is one of the best looking self-published fantasy book. It is one of the best looking book that you have ever seen, and I agree with that. I haven't got the chance to read this book yet, but if you're looking to get yourself a copy of it, well, the Kickstarter just launched yesterday as well, and I think you should check it out. Every single artwork inside this book is illustrated by the authors themselves, and yeah, they are fully colored. Definitely take some time to check out this Kickstarter project. And then the next Kickstarter project I would like to give a spotlight will be again for Pale Kings by Ben Galley. This is the second book. This is the second book in Emaneska series by Ben Galley, and yes, this is Pale Kings Illustrated Edition, the sequel to the first book, the written illustrated edition. This one is fully funded already, and there is only about, I think, 2 weeks left before the end of the Kickstarter. And yeah, if you're looking to get yourself a copy of the first book as well, this is your chance. You can actually get yourself a copy of the written illustrated edition as well as Pale Kings on this Kickstarter project. And finally, the last Kickstarter project I would like to give a spotlight to is for the second book in Wahrheit by A.C. Cobble. The title is Revenge. I haven't read the first book yet, but the cover art and cover design for the first book looks super good. It looks amazing in my opinion. And A.C. Cobble just revealed the cover art to the second book, Revenge. And again, the cover art is done by Daniel Kamarudin. And although it hasn't been confirmed yet, I'm pretty sure that Sean King will return as the cover designer. And for this one, and the Kickstarter for Revenge hasn't begun yet. I think it will start on the 29th of November. So make sure to mark your date. And then, as always, I will leave the link to all these Kickstarter projects in the description down below. Make sure to check them all out. And moving on to the next special edition I would like to give a spotlight to, and this is for Malice. Malice by John Gwynn, Grim Oak Press edition. So this hasn't been confirmed yet, but there is a good chance that this is actually the cover art to Malice with an art done by Marcus Winnie. Marcus Winnie is the cover artist behind The Shadow of the Gods and The Hunger of the Gods, and I think that is Storm. If you have read The Faithful and the Fallen, you will know who Storm is. So it hasn't been confirmed that this is indeed the cover art for Malice yet, but Sean Spickman just mentioned that he has found the right artist for the interior illustrations. There is no name for the artist yet, it hasn't been announced, but the artist would prefer to do full color illustrations instead of black and white for the book. So Grim Oak Press is giving us the option to choose whether we want the special edition to be $150 with a black and white interior artworks or $200 with the full color interior artworks. So I will leave the link to the polling in the description down below. And the next special edition is again by Grim Oak Press. So Grim Oak Press just revealed the full cover art to The King of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. It looks amazing. Jason Chan is one of my favorite artists, and I really love this cover art so much. This cover art looks amazing. So if you're a fan of the Broken Empire trilogy, this is your chance. Grim Oak Press has announced that the pre-order date for the King of Thorns Grim Oak Press edition will begin on the 4th of November. So yeah, very soon. If you're a fan of the Broken Empire, do not miss this opportunity. The next special edition spotlight is again for Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This book is super successful that there are now multiple special editions for this one, even though the traditionally published edition for Legends and Lattes hasn't been released yet. And I think it is amazing. Travis Baldree deserved this success. And the one I'm going to spotlight today is the Fairyloot edition of Legends and Lattes. This one comes with a holographic foil on the dust jacket for a rainbow effect, and also the holographic foil will be on the hardcover as well. This one will be available to order on March 9, 2023. So it's still quite a while from now. And the last special edition, I know there are a lot, right? I did talk about this. And the last special edition I'm going to talk about today is something that I didn't expect, and it is for The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan, published by Orbit Books. This special edition actually looks really amazing, and it is published by Orbit UK, and unfortunately this is also exclusive to UK readers. So if you're in US or Canada, I don't think it is possible for you to get yourself a copy of this one directly from Orbit Bookstore. Endorsed by the Robert Jordan estate, this luxurious new hardback edition features a never-before-seen gold-foiled illustration on the front cover, exclusive gold-foiled illustration on both sides of the slipcase, an exclusive new Two Rivers illustration as front and papers, the classic Wheel of Time world map as back and papers, an exclusive foreword from international best-selling fantasy authors Brent Weeks, plus spray edges, and also hat and tail bands and gold ribbon marker. And there will only be 1,000 individually numbered copies of this deluxe collector edition printed. The new gold foiled front cover will be illustrated by Stephen Player. The slipcase with exclusive gold foiled 3 rings will be illustrated by Stephen Player as well. And then the front and papers with exclusive new landscape illustration will be done by Martin Pick, and the back and papers with classic Wheel of Time world map will be done by Thomas Canty and Alyssa Mitchell. I don't know whether Tor Books, the US publisher, is planning to release their own deluxe edition, but the price of this one is £100. So yeah, this is not a cheap book. It is after all a special edition, a limited edition of The Eye of the World, and I hope that Tor Books will publish their own deluxe edition for the US and Canada readers. Being an international reader, trust me that I know the pain of facing this kind of restriction issue. I know it so much. And now we move on to the topic of cover reveals. Let's start with the traditionally published fantasy books, and I only have 2 news here. The first one is for Jade City by Fonda Lee. So the cover art to Jade City, the first book in the Greenbone saga by Fonda Lee, the German edition, is out now. It has been revealed, and I think it looks beautiful. It looks even better than the cover art for the US and UK edition of Jade City. And yeah, and the German edition for Jade City will be released in May 2023. And after that, I would like to give a spotlight to Dark Water Daughter by H.M. Long. The cover art to this one has been revealed by Fantasy Hive, and the cover artist behind this book is Julie Lloyd. I think this one looks quite pretty. It looks really blue, and also it will be released in July 2023. I haven't read anything by H.M. Long yet, but I've heard from plenty of readers that they love her previous books. I think it was a trilogy, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Elliot Brooks actually talked about this trilogy already in one of her videos. I cannot find which one though. But yeah, I remember clearly that Elliot Brooks has actually talked about the first trilogy by H.M. Long in one of her videos. I think in a very positive manner too, if I'm not mistaken. Now let's talk about cover reveals in sub-published SFF books. The first one is for the second book in the Illborn saga titled Aiduel Sin. The cover art has been revealed, and I think this cover art looks much better than the cover art to the first book, Illborn. I love Illborn. Illborn is one of my favorite books of the year. And if I have one criticism regarding that book, and well, it is unfortunately the cover art. I think the cover art was too generic and it doesn't capture anything that is so great about the book. But the cover art to Aiduel Sin, done by Christian Bentulan, looks vastly better than Illborn. And if you have read Illborn, I think this cover art will spark your interest even more. I cannot wait to read this one. This is one of my most anticipated books of 2023. Easily. I hope that this will be even better than Illborn. And moving on to the next spotlight, this one is for the newest book by Harmon Cooper. This is for a book titled The World According to Dragons, the first book in the Saga Land Chronicles, Harmon Cooper's newest progression epic fantasy series. And the cover art is done by Daniel Kamarudin. Daniel Kamarudin is such a great artist. I love almost everything that he has ever done. I think practically everything, really. I have never seen him miss with his cover art yet. And I know that Harmon Cooper has released so many books. I cannot keep up, and I haven't read anything by him yet. I think I own a Pilgrim. I own the first 6 books in Pilgrim by Harmon Cooper, so I think when I give his books a try, I will start from there. Or maybe I will start from The World According to Dragons, because I mean, this cover art looks really good. Looks really good. And after that, the cover art to the third book in the Runewar saga by J.D.L. Rossell has been revealed, and the title of this book is The Stone of Iron and Omen. The cover art is done by Rene Eichner, and yeah, it looks amazing. This one is a Norse-inspired epic fantasy series. And I own the first 2 books in the trilogy already, but well, as always, I still haven't read the books yet. But this cover art looks great. It reminded me of the Shadow of the Colossus video game somehow. And the last cover reveal I would like to give a spotlight today is for the second book in Ashes of Avarian series by Thiago Abdallah, Shade of Madness. And if you're active in the self-published fantasy community on Twitter, I think there was one day last week where you will have seen this cover art being spread around like wildfire. This Griffin though. Griffin in the cover art is something that is quite rare in epic fantasy, in my opinion. I rarely see a Griffin being featured on the cover art, and yeah, this cover art looks even better than the first book, Touch of Light, and I look forward to reading this series, fingers crossed, within next year. I think Thiago Abdallah has mentioned that he planned to finish the entire series within 2023. And speaking of Thiago Abdallah, on that same day of the cover reveal, Thiago Abdallah also became a finalist in SPFBO 8 with A Touch of Light. And with that in mind, all 10 finalists of SPFBO 8 have been found, and yeah, I will leave the link to the SPFBO page in the description down below. There are many interesting looking books here. And now we move on to the final section of SFF Spotlight, and that is Noteworthy Release. This section of SFF Spotlight is basically just me giving you a reminder that these books are out now and you can actually read them now if you want to. And the first one is The Alchemy of Sorrows by many great authors. This is a fantasy anthology on the topic of grief, sorrow, and hope. And yeah, there has been many great praises for this one, and I think I will start reading this slowly really soon. And after that, Demon's Reign by David Estes and Ben Galley is out now, and this is the first book in the Bloodwood saga, pitched as Avatar The Last Airbender meets Venom. I don't think I can resist not trying this book for a long time. In fact, I think if possible, I want to try to read A Demon's Reign within this month, if possible. But I will release my November TBR video soon, and you will see how many books that I want to try to read this month, and let's see if that's possible or not. And then after that, Voyage of the Forgotten, the third book in the Legacy of the Mercenary Kings by Nick Martell, is also out now. This has been confirmed to be the final book in the series, even though Nick Martell originally planned the series to be 5 books long. Unfortunately, circumstances happen, and this will have to be the final book in the, well, now trilogy. And the cover art, both of them, looks amazing. I hope that I will love this one when I get to it. I've read the first 2 books. I enjoyed the first book more. I think the second book was a bit of a downgrade, so I hope that Voyage of the Forgotten will deliver a satisfying conclusion to the Legacy of the Mercenary Kings. And after that, Dark Souls Mask of Vindication by Michael Stackpole is now out. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first, I could be wrong on this, but I think this is actually the first official Dark Souls novel. And of course, I will have to read this one. As a huge Demon Souls, all Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, and also Elden Ring fans, I will have to read this book. Whether it sucks or not, we'll find out, but I will have to read this one, and it is out now. Speaking of series that I want to read, Zack Argyle just released the box set version of his Threadlight trilogy. 1,000 pages long, and the price is only $2.99. If you're like me who haven't read this series yet, maybe this is our chance to get the entire trilogy at a cheap price. If it's possible, I really want to get to this trilogy. I heard that this is a Stormlight Archive and Lightbringer inspired epic fantasy trilogy, and I want to try to read this series next year. And the next one is for Blood Reunion by JCM Byrne. This is the third book in the superhero science fiction and space opera series titled The Hybrid Helix, and I've been hearing so many great things from some of my booktuber friends regarding this series, and I hope that I will get to this one as soon as possible. I've been looking forward to reading more superhero fantasy stories, and that's also why I have Worm by Wildbow on my next year priority TBR. And finally, the last noteworthy release and the last topic of today's SFF Spotlight video is for The Rise of the Dragons by George R. Martin and also the authors and editors behind The World of Ice and Fire. I haven't read The Rise of the Dragon yet, but if I'm not mistaken, based on what I've heard, this is just a rehash and also a condensed version of Fire and Blood, except that it has so many new, gorgeous, full-color interior artworks, just like The World of Ice and Fire. And knowing how much I love A Song of Ice and Fire, I think I will eventually get this one to read as well. I own every book in A Song of Ice and Fire, and I don't think I will miss getting myself a copy of The Rise of the Dragon as well. And plus, I really want to see all the artworks inside this book. I absolutely love House of the Dragon Season 1. Love it so much. And although I've read Fire and Blood already, I think the next time I want to experience the story of the Targaryen conflicts, other than the TV show, of course, I think I will start with reading The Rise of the Dragon. So yeah, that's the end of today's video. That's the end of today's SFF Spotlight. And as I said, I will try to make my SFF Spotlight video more frequent than before. But my plan right now is to start doing SFF Spotlight video once per week starting from January. But if there are too many news in the adult science fiction and fantasy, just like today's video, in less than 2 weeks, I will try to release a new SFF Spotlight video as soon as possible, just like today. And yeah, I think that's it from me today. Do let me know which news excites you the most, which news that you found to be the most interesting, and do let me know your thoughts on them. As always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support. Bye bye. Lastly, I want to say thank you so much once again to all my patrons who keep on supporting me.